Well, the readings at Mass today have a lot to offer. And this first reading from St. James gives you the impression that he had a bad weekend with some rich people because he clobbers them. And he's really upset that they didn't pay the people in the field well enough. And that gives us all something to think about. And I think the remedy here, when we're in that situation with workers and employees, be fair, be just, be generous, and if possible, be magnanimous. And I think that would satisfy St. James. Then in the Psalm, we read kind of the same theme. Blessed are the poor in spirit. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. That comes from the Sermon on the Mount. That's the very first of the Beatitudes. And it really had to surprise the people when they first heard it, because the people in Israel at that time were in a bad spot. They'd been taken over by the Romans, and they were in tough shape. And most of them were very poor. Life was hard. Life was really, really hard. So when they heard Jesus say, blessed are the poor in spirit, I don't think they were expecting that. And those were the first public words ever recorded of Jesus as a preacher, and all of humanity had been waiting for that moment for thousands and thousands of years since Adam and Eve. And it's important to really understand what Jesus is saying there. He isn't saying, blessed be the poor in fact, but blessed be the poor in spirit, because you can be poor in fact, but rich in grasping in spirit. And you can be rich in fact, but poor and generous in spirit. So he's encouraging us to be poor in spirit. St. Josemaria gave this kind of practical guidance for living the Christian virtue of poverty for ordinary people. And he gave the following advice: consider nothing your own. I mean, you might have title to it, but consider nothing your own. It's something God has given us to administer. Second, if you're lacking something that's necessary, don't complain. How about that? Many times what people lack that's necessary is enough time, right? They complain, I don't have enough time, right? And third, he said, when you have a chance to buy something for yourself for personal use, and nobody will know the difference, choose the second best. Don't choose the super duper. Nobody will know the difference. You'll know the difference, right? And the point there is, if you choose the second best, you own it. It doesn't own you. And you are living the Christian virtue of poverty. Maybe other people don't notice it, but you are. You've denied yourself. And that sets us up for the gospel, where Jesus is speaking about self-denial, rather in dramatic terms, right? If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. Thank God we don't take the scriptures literally. We can have a little bit of interpretation of it. Or if your eye is a cause of sin, pluck it out. Well, thank God we don't take that literally, because if we did take it literally, I think all of us would be blind. So what do you do instead of plugging it out? Change the channel, right? Hit the screensaver. Look in a different direction. But the point there is to exercise that self-sovereignty, that self-control, so we keep our mind and heart on God. So what our Lord is teaching us here is the Christian sense of mortification, the practice of mortification. Now, that may not be a word that people are very familiar with. It's similar to renunciation. It's similar to penance. It's similar to conversion. Mortification is the deliberate choice to deny ourselves something which in and of itself might be good, which allows us to experience a little bit of discomfort. You don't have to exaggerate, right? Not everyone is called to be shoeless. Discalced Carmelites are called to be shoeless. Right, so what does that mean? Well, at meals, St. Josemaria would suggest, try to have a little less of what you like and a little more of what you don't like. All right, so you might be thinking, I know exactly what I don't like. I'll have a little more of that. Nobody will notice the difference. You'll notice the difference. And you'll maintain that self-control and that self-discipline, and it keeps your soul alive. Everyone will be salted with fire. Dramatic language. Salt is good, but if salt becomes insipid, with what will you restore its flavor? So that practice of deliberate self-denial keeps us sharp, and the ironic thing here, the paradox, is it makes us happier. It makes us happier. And I'll close with one little story about happiness and self-indulgence. Years ago, I was standing outside of a Toys R Us store right here in the area. And this is around Christmas time, every kid that was coming out was crying. Like, what are they doing in Toys R Us? Are they hitting the kids? Well, you know why they're crying. They're absolutely tired, and Mom said, no, you can't have that. Oh, he's got a zillion things. You just can't have one more thing. It was just hilarious. Toys R Us and all the kids coming out are crying. Well, they haven't learned mortification yet. They can learn that when they're 12 years old.